makes sense.
I guess it helps I put my audio on, huh? What's the motherfucking deal, Sauce Nation, man? I hope everybody is well. I hope everybody is having a fabulous Friday. Y'all know it's fucking Friday, so make sure y'all get plenty of that, get that venting ready in the chat. This is Sauce Sports. If you're not familiar with Sauce Sports is a Houston, Texas Homer network. We're talking Texas, not Texans, so we're talking all sports, only Houston. Got plenty of things to talk about, man. We got plenty to discuss. We're going to have some roundtable action this evening. We're going to talk about a couple of things that's been going on around the league, around the nation, and really mainly with the Texans. And like I say, training camp was this day 8. We don't count the off day. Some people do, but we don't. So like I say, we're just going to kind of dive into it, get into some information, man. But first and foremost, we got to talk about the most important information in the city, and that is the freshest motherfucking ingredients. If you don't know what a fresh ingredient is, man, it's you. If you hit that subscribe button, man, if you in the streams every night, man, if you showing love to the sauce, whether you are a Texans fan or not, you know, if you support the sauce, if you got love for the sauce, man, you are a fresh motherfucking ingredient, and we appreciate you. So we're gonna get started with the Sauce Nation roll call, and but before we kick that off, we're gonna see who we have with us in the mix this evening in the round. So we got shaking with us tonight on the round table.
What's going on, man? It's the #1 shit talker, Tinny.
Ready?
What's up, guys? It is Hector Flores, the kid from Sharpstown, in the house.
Ready. Put that on there, get that going. All right. So here's the deal, man. We're going to get into CBC we got in the mix. And first and foremost, let's start at the very top. I know some of y'all been in here real early, been holding down since damn near the 3 o'clock or so. And I appreciate that love, man. I seen the chat been active. But let's see what we got in the mix, man. We got Kenneth. We got KS857. We got 335 in the motherfucking mix. Darren Davis been holding it down. Miss Voodoo C Man up. What's the motherfucking deal? Titans up. What's the motherfucking deal? Nathan King, Josh Cooper, Jay Dizzle. What's the motherfucking deal? Elijah Johnson, Heidi Kleindienst, El Guapo. What's the motherfucking deal? The Q. Sean Jackson, David Pritchard. Good to see you, man. J-Pac. What's the motherfucking deal? T-Mac 34. What's the motherfucking deal? James Harden, already. Ashmel Trejo, what's the motherfucking deal? Joshua Grant, Mr. Asian Pikachu, always good to see you. My favorite Pikachu of all the Pikachus. Let's see. Make sure we ain't Brendan Finister, I apologize. What's the motherfucking deal? Broderick Brooks, already good to see you. Man Things, what's the motherfucking deal, man? Good to see you. BA to London, I see you already. Let's see, make sure everybody looks. See, well, look up there. They motherfucking sitting trying to send Heidi back to the kitchen. Goddamn. Houston B, what's the motherfucking deal? Already. So, like I say, we're gonna get into some shit, man. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna dive in it to win it. We got plenty of stuff to talk about. And there we go. We got Wink in the mix there. Wink, you want to say what's up to the people?
Hey, what's going on? The boy Third Coast Sports TV. I was having like a little connection issue. Just went to the damn. What's that shit when you check in? The front office?
Yeah,
just went up there, man. Grab a couple of things. Got caught up in this rain.
Already. B-Shell, what's the motherfucking deal? But like I said, maybe we're going to dive into some conversation. Maybe we're going to talk about a few things this evening. We're going to talk about a few things that's been happening at camp, man. Like I said, we're just going to get into it, man. So first and foremost, man, let's talk about the downside. Let's get the negatives out the way. And remember, it's fucking Friday, man. So let us know what's been bothering you all week. If it's your significant other, if it's your boss, if your neighbor, you know what I'm saying, whatever it might be, your car broke down on you, whatever you got going, you know, hey, if you got to get off your chest, man, fuck it. Because it's fucking Friday, man. Let that loose. This is your time to vent. And we will have a sauce line open later on this evening. But if you want to text the sauce line now, we'll put that number up for you so you can text in your thoughts, your opinions, and your feelings on the motherfucking sauce line. So here's the deal. First and foremost, man, a little bit of bad news, not majorly bad, but something we've kind of expected was kind of going on because we were like, I know he ain't doing that well in practice, that he was getting veteran treatment. One, KeKe is supposedly going to miss the opening preseason game, having a slight hamstring injury. Not nothing major. Bill O'Brien just kind of said, it's no big deal. I think they're doing the smart thing now by not forcing him in anything. And so that way they are, like I say, it's all about health, especially if he is going to be an asset, especially if he's going to be a hopefully a day one contributor. then you have to make sure that these guys are taken care of. So we're going to start with Tenny, hit the Hector, and then work our way to Wink, man. How are you feeling? What is your thoughts? Is this a bad sign? I mean, are the Texans doing the right thing? I mean, what in your mind is going on with the KeKe situation? Does it kind of concern you that he's gotten hurt so early in camp, or would it be in a minor injury? It's just kind of thing that everybody goes through. How do you feel about that, Tenny?
Man, it's all right. I mean, we touched on it yesterday, and I said that with the fact that they're going to be making cuts at the end of the preseason, last game is when they're going to start working on their cuts. The fact that they're giving him this rest, and we saw him icing his knees a couple of days ago. Everybody was like, "Hey, what's going on?" Come to find out that he could have just strained his hamstring a little bit. I mean, all we know is it could be just like some hamstring tightening. So I mean, it's good that he's going to miss his first preseason game. He's a 4th round draft pick for us. It's not like we're going to cut him. So we already know what he's been doing in practice and all that, and we know it's just practice. But I wouldn't be surprised if they held him out the second game too, just to let that muscle heal. I mean, it's not a need to get him back out on the field as fast as possible. No. It gives us time to look at Braxton. It gives us time to look at Sammy and the 2 other young guys. So I think this is like the perfect opportunity for this new system that they got in place.
Exactly.
Already. Hector, how do you feel about the KeKe situation? And with him being out, does that open up an avenue for some of these other receivers to get them a little bit of shine in? How do you feel about the KeKe situation and how the Texans are handling it? Honestly,
that's exactly how I feel about it. I think KeKe has done good in the practices and everything. I think he's impressed everybody. So as far as him, losing a roster spot, I don't think that's going to be an issue. So it gives these guys a better chance to show their worth and make their push into either the practice squad or our ideal would be our 6 wide receiver spots, which also means that Braxton Better gets a chance to prove that he's gotten better. So it opens up a lot of opportunities for a lot of the guys to show what they can do, and then plus it also gives other people opportunities for kick returning and special teams.
Okay, very good point. I didn't even consider the special teams aspect of it because I know they've been trying a few guys out in the special team situation and kind of seeing how that's working out for them. Wink, what is your feeling? What is your take? How do you feel about the KeKe injury and how the Texans are handling it currently?
I pretty much agree with everything that Tenny and everybody just said, but it also gives everybody, more tape to see on Sammy Coates and, and Braxton Miller and all those guys that want to get serious work. Because it seems that, since KeKe's been in a Texans uniform, his name's been ringing the bell every chance they get, you know what I'm saying? So I think fans can feel pretty good about his chances making this roster. But not that he was going to be in jeopardy anyway unless he was just completely trash, which isn't the case. And, take your time just like Foreman needs to take his time. If you got an injury, no need to rush it because you're not in jeopardy of losing anything anyway. So, just make sure you dedicate yourself to what you have to do as far as getting yourself back from injury. Make sure when the time comes, when we call on your number, that you're ready. And, try not to have any setback.
Already. So I noticed the thing, I was listening to some interviews and some things that were taking place kind of throughout the week, just kind of recapping some stuff. And you kind of mentioned about, I want to say Hector mentioned Braxton Miller and him having an opportunity to do some things. Sean Ryan was talking about Braxton and how he's looked significantly improved this season. Talking about he's much faster off the ball, that he's actually kind of going up and getting past. Just things that, it takes some time to develop certain skill sets at receiver. We do forget that this man, only had a small time at receiver. He was originally a quarterback, and I guess getting out of that mind state is part of the game. So we'll start with Wink and work our way back, man. Do you think that these things are just coach speak, or do you feel like Braxton has really improved and he maybe has a chance to see more of a significant role in this offense?
Well, I was feeling good about Braxton this whole offseason because when you go back and you wrote really things, with the exception of the quarterback play and him being held out of games, the man was finding all his depths. The man was running crisp routes. And when the man was able to get the ball in his hands, he was able to do spectacular things in game and get big pluses in yardage. So I see no reason why why he can excel in this third season. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 years before you actually get to show your growth and development in this football league. And for him, it would be in his best interest to really take what the coaches are saying about him and how fans will feel about him in stride. Because who's to say that his opportunities will go beyond this season? You don't know. I mean, you don't know how anybody else is looking at you. Of course, you can throw out scenarios, but it's not easy to play receiver in this league. So if he continues to expand and works on the things that he needs to work on, and if he shows vast improvement, he'll be just fine and he'll make his roster no problem.
Okay. Hector, what are your thoughts on Braxton? Do you feel like Braxton is actually better, or do you think that was a bit of coach speak? And what would you like to see from Braxton in this offense if he has improved?
I mean, it's good to hear that he's gained some support from the coaches. But I mean, kind of what we've all been saying every single time, we're not going to know until we see him on the field. And I mean, if he's getting better, that's great. That means that at least he's improving every single year. And honestly, man, I'm sure Tanny's going to talk about this since he's the prophet of the Church of Watson. But I'm gonna say, Watson makes a lot of people look good, and I think Braxton Miller will be one of the guys that will benefit from having Deshaun Watson as a quarterback.
Absolutely.
Let us talk to Joseph Tenney. And Pastor Tenney, what do you have to say about the one Deshaun Watson, the Texan savior? What would you like to speak on this man and what he can do for Braxton Miller?
Well, I got my book open right now, and I'm looking down here in the hymns, and it says, on the 7th day of the 3rd year, Deshaun Watson showed up and said to Braxton Miller, "Go forward, my child, for I shall make you a receiver. No longer are you a quarterback in this league, but a premier receiver in the slot. And I shall get you this ball. And we shall rain sixes every Sunday and Monday night and Thursday night." And quite honestly, if everything's going true, I hope to see Braxton Miller blow up to 2s to 3s on this preseason game. And how many ever series he's in here. And it's good for his wallet. It's good for us. I mean, overall, if this avalanche of good news for him is coming forward, it spells nothing but good for him, because it's really hard for players to make transitions. And he's made the transition from quarterback to wide receiver. And if everything's true, it's going to be great for us. And to answer Darren's question, man, there was no roach, man. I'm just getting long in the whiskers down here, man. Fucking that hair's starting to stick out on me. I gotta go get a haircut.
Look, just let it grow. Get you some dreads, man. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. So very interesting, man. Like I said, good shit on Braxton. I think that the fact that we actually having a quarterback and having some consistency at the quarterback position, because again, you gotta, going into year 3, you got to think about who he's had to play with. And I said that, going through with 17 was a hindrance on everybody. Every young receiver's development was limited by having to play with a guy like that. Then with Watson going down early, a lot of guys they never really have had that consistency. So hopefully he can stay healthy throughout the season. And if he's able to do that, then, I think that we should see a lot of guys who we may have been on the fence about actually see some success. So I think that's something to consider. Today. Okay, hold on.
To what you're saying. Outside of the Browns game, I'm not even sure if he even played in the Seahawks game, because he was being held out of games when Watson was on the field. I'm not sure he's even played the 2 full games with Deshaun Watson.
Nah, he's played the 2 full games, because you got to remember we were still dealing with the tight end injuries, so they needed as many people up there suited. I think he had like one game where he had like a hammy issue.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to really. It's kind of hard, you know what I'm saying, to really judge him off of because he hasn't really had the chances to really do what we think he can do. But he started showing it. He started proving himself, throughout he started looking like a viable option. Like, man, you can get this man the ball when you can. So, if they keep working towards him, if they keep implementing him in the gap play, because I think he can be more than just a gadget play. I don't think, one of the callers the other night was saying, like, we should pretty much get him in, like, wildcat situations. No, I believe he can run routes. I'm not just going to say that he should just have one skill set and just stick to it. I don't think that would serve his game, and we would be undermining his skill set if we did that. So, that's how I feel. How y'all feel about that?
I mean, yeah, if we could get him out there in different positions or different sets and just get him more open.
Once again, I think one of the key words for this season is going to be versatility. So,
yeah, we've heard the versatility term quite often, man. My thing is this, and it's actually funny, we were talking about Braxton, and I think you look at it, though. I'd like to see him shine. I'd like to see him, get some action. But from what I'm hearing, we already know Hop and Fuller, that's a lock. Sammy Coates, with the height that he brings, and they're loving what he's doing, I'm thinking he's going to be a lock. I think Braxton Miller's best hope in this situation, because everybody's raving about KeKe, and I think right now on the hierarchy, I believe that most people have KeKe over Braxton, because he's always been a receiver. He's got the skill sets. His limit is the ability to read defense. That's the biggest knock we've heard on him right now. And then he's a rookie, so you're going to have those little limitations. But you got Ellington and Braxton, and so what happens is, like I say, Broderick Brooks just texted in and he said, "Hey, Braxton or Ellington, one of them is going to have to go." And who is it going to be?
It makes no sense to me how we can allude to the fact that because a couple of players showed up here, you still have to understand this is a Bill O'Brien scheme where he does not trust rookies. He's put in a precarious position this year where he would have no choice to play rookies, because of the for depth. We can't say what this man will and he won't do. It's very easy to say that well, maybe he's not going to be on this team. What supports that claim? Because you're not hearing about him in training camp, that means nothing. That means absolutely nothing. You know what I'm saying? So we just need to give it some time. See what's going on. If everything works itself out, then he may end up proving everybody wrong. And and the certain people that believe in him, they'll be proven right.
And honestly, I think some people are thinking that way because there's talk that the Texans are probably going to keep 4 tight ends, and keeping 4 tight ends and 6 wide receivers may be a little much. So I can get where everybody thinks that somebody's going to be the odd man out. But if Braxton's doing good like he is, KeKe did his part. There's no reason to get rid of Bruce over Coates. We already know what Bruce can do with Deshaun. And it's one of those situations where some players just click really good together. And you've seen it with a lot of good quarterbacks to this league. They take a receiver like Bruce Ellington and elevate his game beyond what he could just do by himself.
And I think also when you talk about Braxton Miller and Ellington, obviously a lot of people do like Bruce Ellington over Braxton, and I'm the same way as well. Right. But Bruce Ellington does have some injury issues, so there's a lot of things that come into play when picking out your receivers. I still think these two could both make it in the final 53-man roster, so I don't think it's that big of a concern. But like we said, the pressure is on Braxton Miller to show that he's gotten better and that he can play, so that way he's on the roster by week 1.
Even with us, okay, say we do keep 4 tight ends, which would be fucking ridiculous. It's no way if we keep 4 receivers, it's no way we keep Jay Prosh. That's who we need to be talking about cutting, because he serves no real role on this football team. It's not like if they playing out of I formation, if Deshaun Watson's gonna be under center a lot more, then his role is going to have to increase due to the amount of talent that we don't have at tackle. So whatever tight end that you have flexed out to be in the position to block, and you still have him paving the way, that's the only way you're going to be able to. He's only going to be able to maintain this team. Special teams, he can't afford to be on this team just to be a special teams player. And also, it's no reason to cut Braxton or Bruce Ellington or any one of those guys because you got injuries. You have a proven injury history at the position. You don't know what can happen at any given time. So why be in the same situation that you put yourself early last year when certain dudes are going down? Another thing, why do that why cut all of these receivers when you don't even know what you truly have at running back behind Alfred Blue? So it's no reason to be carrying 4 and 5 running backs. And that's where the discrepancies lie when it comes to saying, hey, because you could honestly run Braxton Miller out of the backfield. It's so many things that can be done if they're schemed right that you can see with this football team. So just from a game planning standpoint, it would make no sense to cut it.
I just saw a comment. Nuke Bomb You Bitch. He made a comment about the unofficial depth chart that was released today. And there was something surprising on there that I saw too, is Steven Anderson's at the back end of this that tight end lineup. Right. And what if he's slipping? I mean, they put the 2 rookies over him. I get it, it's the first preseason game, you want to see what you got, but I mean, what happens if Anderson ends up the odd man out due to injury or due to just lack of competitiveness in this camp?
Honestly, I see nothing with that. If we being real, a depth action, that means nothing. Because at the end of the day, just because the guy's in front of you, that don't mean they're going to outperform you. That means absolutely nothing. So wait till Steven Anderson gets on the field. And if Steven Anderson is doing what he's supposed to do, what we all see him do on third downs, if we all see him getting open, using his speed, using his athleticism to get open, and he keeps those reliable hands ready, why do you cut a player like that? Because no matter what you need at the short power position, you can't always trust Ryan Griffin to make those catches. I can trust Steven Anderson, no problem. I understand, Jordan Thomas and dudes like that is looking good in camp, but don't get too hung up on these guys just because they big, slow, and they out here, making a couple snags against dudes like Kevin Johnson in practice. That's nothing to be proud of. Make the plays. I understand. I get it. Make the plays that are given to you, but just don't think because you're going against undersized talent on the Houston Texans roster that you're going to be able to do that against elite opponents in the NFL when the games count.
All right, so it's a good point that you mentioned the depth chart. Because let's get into that, man. I mean, the depth chart is technically a blueprint. I mean, we're looking at it for the first week, more for the preseason game and things like that. But there are a few things that did stand out on that depth chart. A couple of names, a couple of comparisons. You saw Reed and Orr. Like, to me, the Orr is the biggest thing, in my opinion. You saw a couple of positions that had Orrs in them. One of those was at the second tight end, Jordan Akins or Jordan Thomas. One of the other things I saw was Kareem Jackson or Justin Reed. So I think that those are signs, in my opinion, that these are guys who are kind of even keeled, if you will. I mean, even about in the same spot, in the same position, or they're looking at them about rated as the same. And so in the end, with the Reed and Kareem Jackson situation, like I said, we're talking preseason now, and I mean, I think it's going to take a couple of games to see what actually pans out. But in y'all's opinion, we'll start with Tenny and work our way back. Who ends up week 1 of the actual season, not the preseason, because we'll have a couple of games to see it. What is your prediction? Who ends up starting at that safety position?
I gotta go with probably Kareem. If Bandamosi keeps making noise like he has been, if he has a good preseason, I think that gives us more of a choice to say, hey, we got to put you into a starting position where we can utilize you more, since we got some cornerback talent that we can use elsewhere and take your position on the field.
I think because of the fact that the Texans tend not to like starting rookies, I think it's going to be Justin Reed. But I can also see at some point, Reed getting the start.
Yeah.
Due to like injuries or things like that.
Okay. Wink, how do you feel? Who's going to end up starting week 1, Reed or Jackson?
Well, it's going to be tough. Honestly, it's two ways to really look at that. You can I really want to lean towards Reed because he has a different athleticism. He has a different length. I think he has better IQ and he has better instincts than Kareem Jackson. But I'm willing to concede the fact that Kareem Jackson is a proven tackler. He's proven that when you're in front of him, he's able to diagnose flows, take great angles, and make plays in coverage. And if he can see everything as long as he can see everything in front of him, he can be great. So I think and another thing is end up being a determining factor is the health, because we all know that Kareem can miss a few games here and there, so it's something to keep my mind on. My heart says Reed, but my brain says Kareem will be the starter.
Okay. I'm gonna read a comment. Actually, Brooks, I missed earlier that he had sent a comment talking about the Braxton situation and how the wife feels Braxton may be on the fringe. And another good point. Said Ellison came in off the street and immediately cemented himself over Miller. I also agree that Prosky's system is a wasted roster spot. But if Braxton does show some development, because that is my thing, that Ellington did come in and immediately show that rapport with Watson, and he was utilized a little bit here and there. He had a couple of injuries himself.
Right.
If Braxton does show some promise, and he's looking like he is on the fringe, though, is he trade bait? And if so, what is he worth, or who would you see being an equivalent trade, or would you see some type of pick being worthwhile for Braxton? We'll start working ourselves back.
I see Braxton Miller. If for some reason this man is not on this team, I could see him fitting on a team like Kansas City. I could see him fitting on a team like Philadelphia Eagles. I see him definitely going somewhere like the fucking Saints or the Patriots, potentially even Green Bay. It's teams like that could utilize his skill set, that can make some shit happen. I mean, I look at it like this: if he was to go to Green Bay, he potentially could battle out and beat out Randall Cobb, because his play has dipped dramatically over the last 3 years. He's nowhere near the player and makes the same type of impact that he used to make. And you could look at a team like the Rams bolstering up their roster. The Bills could use him. The Browns could very well use him depending on the situation, and when Flash Gordon comes back, he's not really going to cost anything because he hasn't really proven anything. So if he goes into a season and he gets to play next year, to actually prove himself and get a deal, and he's going to be on the cheaper end if he does get paid, because he's generally a slot receiver. He's going to be able to add a certain dynamic to all of these teams. He could go to the Colts or the Titans. You know what I'm saying? There's two teams in the division right now that can use his services. So when you really think about what you want to do, what he is, and once that's figured out, and once the right team can harness him and he can have the chemistry with the right quarterback, he can be lethal in this league. His hands are very efficient. We're not even talking about his rap. We're not talking about the depths that he gets that I constantly talk about over and over and over when it comes to Braxton Miller. So when you put all those things together, as long as he's in the right situation, hey, I mean, at the very most, we could probably get a third or fourth round pick on him, just depending on how he's valued and how well somebody actually needs a slot receiver. Slot receivers in this league are paramount, so it's just a matter of to the organization that wants it.
All right. Hector, what do you think the value of a guy like Braxton, if we put him on the market, what do you think his value would be? Where would you see him possibly ending up, or your thoughts on that?
I mean, it all depends on his form. I mean, I don't think he's accomplished enough to be worth a third round pick, in my opinion. A fourth rounder, I could see it, but I think I just don't think we have enough. I think this is like one of those things where we could say we put him up for trade, but a lot of teams are going to just be like, well, you're probably not going to re-sign him anyway, so we'll just wait till the offseason and try to get him in the free agency. So I don't think there's actually a current value for Braxton Miller. Not saying that he doesn't have value. I think he's gotten better and better, but it's just currently he hasn't done enough to prove himself to be worth a third or a fourth rounder.
Okay. I can see that too, because you got to look at it. When he actually did start getting a little bit of shine last year, he ended up with an injury himself, and he hadn't really seen as much playing time as some of the other guys. So, yeah, that's definitely a point that you could take in and consider. Tenny, how do you feel about Braxton Miller's value on the open market, and what would you see the Texans being able to get for him, or what would you see him ending up if he was to be, or somebody was interested in him?
Right now, his value, I would probably put him at a fifth or sixth, like Brooks was saying. The fact is that he hasn't done anything, like Hector said. Right. And if you got to look at his current value, it'd be fifth or sixth, probably a conditional pick with probably like a player traded for him. So you would get like a fifth round plus a player plus him. And you got to think about who would be trading for him. You're not going to trade him within the AFC. You're not going to give him up to competition like the Pats or somebody like that, or the Chiefs or anything like that. Then you got to think about, okay, if you don't want them to stay in division, where you chip them off to the NFC. So, you look at fringe teams that need that kind of talent backup. I mean, you could probably think about maybe the Cowboys, maybe the 49ers, the teams that don't really have to have big body guys at that slot position. So if somebody was to come to us, it would be probably right before trade. And if he was doing hot, they would probably have to give us a really good deal to get him. As far as, we're going to take advantage of them in their situation, needing a slot guy.
Yeah, the Seahawks are a decent team, because I see Broderick saying something about the Seahawks. The Seahawks are a decent team. I can't fully agree, because I just seen him say that, he said that he doesn't believe the fact that he has to. I mean, how often have you seen Braxton on the field? You haven't seen him a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, gadget players like him, Tyler Irvin, are not suitable for Bill O'Brien's scheme and what he's wanted to do. We can sit here and act like this man knows what he knows to do with offensive talent, but he's proven otherwise. I don't think it's Braxton. I honestly don't. I think now he'll definitely be able to prove, because for one, you have chemistry at the quarterback position. You have a guy that can elevate. You have a guy that can get the ball out quickly, and he has all the requisite tools to get open and catch the ball. If he's not doing that, okay, then you can have a point. But you haven't truly seen what he's looked like in the full season with Deshaun Watson. I say give it a few games. Give it 6 or 7 games. After that, if he hasn't really paid out, then all of the arguments that were made in all the cases against him that have been made can be, it'll end up panning out. But right now, I think it's entirely too early, because we don't know what situations are going to end up coming up in the following weeks once the season starts.
My thing is, kind of thinking about it though, but wouldn't he have had actually probably more time with guys like Deshaun Watson as opposed to Hop and Fuller last year? Because, Deshaun was running with the second teamers. He was playing with more of the backup guys, more so, and spending more time with them than running with the ones. And so that's kind of the department where you would find Braxton Miller. So you would think that maybe he would have had more of an opportunity to develop with Watson, because he would have had, He could have had those opportunities. So I kind of think it is. I'm going to have to agree and say I think it's more on Braxton. I think that if he was outshining during practice, or if he was, like I say, when he has the same time, the same opportunity, again, like guys like Ellington and all these guys, to make a name for himself, I think it's something with Braxton. Like I say, I want to like Braxton. I know that he was dynamic. We all remember the spin move, the Madden spin move from college. You know what I mean? And so we know that he has the ability to make guys miss, but it's about getting the ball in his hands. Like I say, I still think it's a little bit of issues as far as converting from the quarterback situation. But again, looking much better this year. And also, I don't want to compare him to Braxton of last year, because even from the camp, from the little things that we've seen from him, looks way better. I think it's on him. I think the opportunity, honestly, is in his hands. This is just going to be about the name that he makes for himself. But my big concern, again, is like the team chemistry overall, because we talked about this several times about how it just seems as though you see all these other guys hanging out. You see all these other guys liking each other's pictures. You see these guys going to events. Like they had that little event. They was even hanging with some of the Jaguars prior to the preseason and things like that. Braxton is out there modeling clothes for some other shit and doing some other things. It's almost like Braxton is more concerned with his own brand, in my opinion, than his status as and dealing rapport with the team. That's just kind of what I see. Like I said, I don't know for a fact. It's not like that's come out like, oh, the teammates hate Braxton or anything like that. That's just like my observations. That's just kind of what I see from it. But again, like I said, if he's been putting in the work, he's going to have plenty of chance with KeKe missing reps, and he's going to have an opportunity to take those reps. And like I say, we'll see. Now, like I say, I'm not going to jump to any foregone conclusions. And we'll just kind of see what all pans out. Now, Chandler hit the sauce. Now, shout out to Chandler. And he was asking, what do we see the chances of – but he said, shout out to the roundtable, Hector, Honcho, Wink, Tenny. Got a question. Say, do you see David Questenberry making the roster for week 1? I think so. It's a depth issue, I think, with that, because you got behind him. Let me double check on the picture. I think it's the guy that they picked up from the Browns was behind him. Let me put up the depth chart real quickly. No, you got Anthony Core. So they got him behind Kelemete. And then DQ, and then you got the Anthony Cole kid, who I don't even remember where he came from, but he's a rookie. So I definitely see David Questenberry. He's going to be on this roster because, again, that O-line and then a little bit of the lack of depth that we have with that, so I think that's almost a guaranteed lock. Now, I'm not saying he's going to start, but he'll definitely be on the roster.
I honestly think that, not to cut you off, but I honestly believe unless you just have extra bodies, in the 90-man roster, because I don't know how many bodies they actually have in the actual room for offensive linemen, because we're losing depth. Like, even from the interior, we never had the greatest depth for the tackle position. Like I said a few days ago, we're not really, outside of the actual cuts that you have to make, from 76 and all of this to get your team down, which is only going to be one set of cuts anyway. You're not really in a position to really cut anybody with talent that you could use that has strength and mobility, agility. You can't do that. It wouldn't with who we have at quarterback, it just would be the right move. I understand it's going to be some tough choices ahead when the season starts, but hopefully they make the right decisions when it's time to make them.
I actually got to bring some bad news here on this one, man. I know I might be reading in between the lines on this one, but on Monday when I heard John Harris and Mark Vandermeer talking about David Questenberry himself, they brought up talking points like they do, all their little hype man shit, all their little sugar in your cup, and may make you happy about the team. They went a little dark for a second, and they said that they don't know if you keep 9 people, is Questenberry just missing out? Or if you keep 10 people, is he the last guy in the door? And that comment stood out to me. And most of the time, those guys do have a little bit of an inside track, do have privileged information that isn't given out to the public just yet. So I'm thinking that Questenberry may be a fringe guy in some of the coaches' eyes. And depending on what their personal thoughts on him are, we might see Questenberry cut and possibly end up on the practice squad again, or possibly picked up by someone. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but just to hear guys like that talk about it and just go to that dark side a little bit, go to that dark information. It's something that as a fan, we got to keep in the back of our mind. As much as we love his story, as much as we want to see him succeed, if it happens, it's a possibility, and we can't be caught off guard by it.
I respect John Harris to a certain extent, but he's been losing his luster, and it's nothing that I could trust out of. Like, let's just be real. Mark Vandermeer isn't no expert. He doesn't know what the fuck he's looking at. He doesn't even get to see the practices. Outside of John Harris and a couple other guys relaying information for him and him repeating what he's being told, he doesn't know what the hell he's looking at. I mean,
that's what I'm not saying though. Is that it's not their evaluation of him. It's them just bringing up the talking, and if they're talking about it, they may have heard something somewhere. This is something that gets passed down the grapevine. This is just something that are watching guys in practice getting reps. If Quisenberry's not getting the reps, he's not making the statement he needs to make.
I mean, right now, they just started getting in pads.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can't even. This is what I'm saying. See, I'm glad you brought that up just to show you how these people, they get their talking points and they fuck with the minds of fans. You are a knowledgeable Texans fan, and the fact that they're already supplanting shit in your brain like that, when we already feel bad about the offensive line already. The fact that they can even get you to this point where you get to bring this shit up on air tonight is blasphemous. They are in no position to sit here.
They are in a better position for us than us. They are in a front row seat of this information. And that's what I'm saying is, like, as much as fans as we are of Quisenberry, we've seen it happen before. We've seen it happen last year. I mean, we've seen him get pushed almost off the team. I mean, I don't think that trend can stop. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I just don't know if the coaching staff is really looking at him as a full-time starter or a full-time option behind Henderson.
How you feel about it, Hector?
The thing is with me is that I can see Quisenberry not make the team this year. I don't think he's done a bad job or anything like that, but it's just, kind of like what Tinny's saying, we've seen him kind of get more and more pushed out of the team. And, I think he's a great option for depth reasons. I think he can come in. I think the times that we've seen him go into the line, I think he's done a great job, but it wouldn't shock me if he didn't make the cut.
I think he has a skill set. He's the only. Let's just be real. He's the only true versatile player on this roster. He can play. I've seen him play left tackle. I've seen him play right tackle, and I know he has a big enough body inside to play guard. He's the only versatile player that I wouldn't mind that they move from left to right. It's not a matter of anything else. He's the only player that fits within this scheme where you can say versatility is a factor. We know he can do it because we've seen it, and he can actually make that leap. But
no, I'm with you on that, man. I agree. I'm 100%. Like, I would love to see Quisenberry on this team at the end of the day, because I think I don't even have to look this up. Quisenberry is the longest tenured offensive lineman we got on this squad now.
Absolutely.
So, he's been with us for years. He knows the script. He knows what he's doing.
Right.
So, but at the same time, it revolves back to some of the things that you always bring up about this team and the direction that they take. Is the unfortunate part is a guy like Quisenberry, who has all this knowledge, who's been through adversity, overcome it, and is now competing for a spot. The fucked up part about it is we could possibly be talking about Quisenberry going to another team at the end of this fourth game in the preseason.
Yeah.
Here's my deal, though, with DQ, man. Again, like I said, it's a situation where I want to consider the lack of depth, but then, that key word that we talk about a lot, versatility. Do they see him as being one of those guys? What is the level of versatility that he brings? We got a couple of guys, they got Chantrell, going back and forth. They got Chad. I was actually surprised they got him out at tackle. I like DQ. I love his story. You know, you want to see him come back and see it. I think there's that emotional connection to what he brings to the Texans, because everybody loves to hear that underdog story, you know. But also, I think I am kind of worried that he is, with this team, he may be on the fringe, you know. Do I think that he'll have an opportunity somewhere else if he gets cut? Yeah. But I just feel like, consider if Suafilo got a chance somewhere else, shit, yeah. But I just feel like he may be on the brink. We haven't heard a lot of noise about him. We haven't really seen a whole lot. And, you know, again, there are fan favorites, and those are who the guys at 6'10" and stuff they talk about the most, because there's certain names that people want to hear the most. But then again, there are guys who are going to naturally stand out, and they're going to speak on it. Hey, you know, this is a surprise, or this is whatever it may be. But even the fans that I've been kind of catching that have been at practices and things like that, you haven't really heard anything, you know, anything about DQ, and that does concern me. So you were making a point, though. What were you going to say there, Wayne?
I was saying even to say what you're saying right now, because I want to expand on what you were just saying. The rate that these old linemen, because we actually, our old linemen are kind of dropping like flies. Now, I understand later on, if you find out, you know, Martinez Rankin's able to come back, and, you know, and it's not even enough information coming out even about his situation. I just feel like old linemen on this team over the next couple of weeks, I think a couple of them are going to drop like flies. And I think it serves a purpose for him to be on this football team, considering the fact that he's one of the longest tenured players. He has strength, he has agility, he's able to move shit in the pocket, you know, and he has awareness. And I really think playing with Deshaun Watson is only going to elevate his game. It's going to be easy to block for Deshaun Watson. A lot of people don't want to talk about how the line played once Deshaun Watson started getting his shit together. It was very easy to look real bad in the game when he came after the half and he took 4 sacks and shit like that. He had to come back from being down 16 points, and only to put the points that he put on the board, and throughout the remainder of the season from the New England game on, look at how they played. They played with ferocity. They weren't giving up as much pressure. They weren't giving up as much sacks. Yeah, he took a couple, and a couple of those sacks can't even be accredited to the damn offensive line because he held the ball a little too long in certain situations. So to say that this man is not going to elevate and get the ball out of his hands because you don't think they don't know what they have in front of them? You think they in the practice looking at this shit like, oh, this motherfucker right here going to be a problem. They have to look at it in their game plan, and they're going to be like, you know what? I know what we're going to have to do when it comes to certain plays right here, because I can see how shit is going to crash down if these type of plays were to happen. So I think the best thing for Deshaun Watson is to really trust them, because you can trust, as long as you can trust your old lineman to make that play, he's going to know exactly when to step up because he has pocket presence. When you have pocket presence and great footwork, you can negate it, along with quick passes, you can negate any bad offensive line in this football league. It's been proven time and time again, and I will continue to say it until he's on the field showing everybody what I already know.
You talking about Quisenberry, right?
Right.
Okay.
So let's slide on to a couple of things, man. I'm gonna jump out of the situation with the Texans. We're gonna come back to a couple of points, but we saw the Hall of Fame game last night, and a couple of things that concern me greatly with the Hall of Fame game and what's going on and around the league. This new helmet rule. And, you know, old buddy, who is it, with the Bears, Smith, you know, he's holding out because he has some issues with the rule. And at first I thought, you know, old buddy just tripping. But then, you know, we saw a couple of calls last night that in our minds, or in my mind personally, looked like regular tackles. I mean, they look like, you know, every play. I mean, there's nothing outlandish about them. They look like, hey, these are solid tackles or whatever. But, you know, a couple of penalties were called, helmet, whatever they're calling it, the new thing now. Do you feel, we'll start with Tenny, we'll work our way back, that this new rule is going to hinder what's happening in the NFL? And again, like I said, because when it comes to me, whenever it's always a rule about player safety, quote unquote, it's always geared and more favorable to the offense. And so then you start seeing more points getting scored. You know, it's harder to play defense. It's always an issue with what the defensive players do because, you know, the NFL wants more points on the board. You know, more points makes people watch more. It brings in more casual fans. Tenny, what are your thoughts with the with this new rule, and how do you think it's going to affect the game in the long run? And there's a couple of points you made before the stream I wanted you to touch on too. So how do you feel about that?
I feel like just making it safer for the players is always a good thing. I mean, their health has to come in some aspect of when you look at the game, and for them to try to make it safer for the players, that's good, yeah. But at the same time, you can't be doing it at the detriment of the game itself. You can't be letting fucking bad calls get out there that change the tide of a fucking game. And what I was talking about earlier was, you know, if they're going to implement these new rules, they need to have an official at every single game that's going into review and looking at the call and saying, hey, down to the field, calling them up and saying, hey, that was a good call, go ahead and keep it. Or, hey, that was a bad call. Player had his helmet or had his face mask up and made contact with the face mask first. It was just a bang, bang play. You missed it. Pick the flag up, tell them it's a no foul, and continue the game. And try to streamline it as fast as possible. Because as soon as the play ends and the flag is blowing, it goes into an automatic timeout. It goes into automatic play clock stop. So, I mean, you have that time to have somebody do that. And it doesn't even have to be a challenge flag issue. It could just be somebody backing up the guys that are on the ground. And I think in situations like this, they got to implement those measures. They have the money. They have the technology. Go out there and do it. I mean, if you want to implement a new rule to players who have been playing this way since they were in Pop Warner, I mean, you got to be able to match what you're trying to do with science and intellectual thought and try to make it more reasonable and more workable in this league. And I just want to say shout out to week 4. That 50 burger we dropped on the Titans, because I've been seeing you talk your shit. So I just want to give you a shout out.
Hey,
Hector, man, how do you feel about this new helmet rule, and how do you feel like the overall outcome is gonna be? How's it gonna affect the league this season?
It's gonna change a lot about the game. A lot. It's not. I mean, it's. I agree. We need to start implementing safety on the players. You know, there's been a lot of concussions. It's not really been good. I mean, it's been pretty rough for like the past few seasons. But the thing is that you're changing a way that they've been taught to tackle.
right.
I mean, and we've heard it. Numerous occasions. They went from that whole like you can only hit low. Then you had like a lot of people getting knee injuries.
Right.
And so, like, you're changing so many things. And then, just like Tenny said, maybe we need to have a video assistant referee, kind of like how they do in soccer, where there is a designated referee that's watching the game, not some guy up in New York, that's watching a bunch of TVs. Like, have one specific referee and, just as long as it doesn't become like a point where they're like checking every single play, but it's gonna suck, because honestly at that point you can honestly be throwing a flag on every tackle, and just like how you can honestly call a holding call on every single play, that you can literally call a foul on every single tackle every single game.
I agree with that, man. And like I say, I think it's definitely going to hinder the look of the league, and I'm telling you, scoring is definitely going to go up across the board, is how I feel. And, again, that's what they want. These guys are crafty in being able to manipulate things into other advantages. So we can sit here and say, because, they changed the rules for receiving back a while back, as far as where you can make contact and see what happened. Scoring went up. When they came with these other different safety rules, you see scoring go up. And now when you're in a situation where you have to think right before you have to make a play, that little hesitation gets your ass beat, or you're going to have to take that penalty. I mean, you're going to be in kind of one or two situations, and I feel like that's a bad move again on the defense. It hinders defense. I like the game for the defense, but it is what it is. Wink, how do you feel about this new helmet rule and how the effect is going to have on this NFL season?
Man, they just making this shit sorry. And they wonder why ratings is going down, but they want to blame it on protests. They want to blame it on sponsorships. They want to blame it on this. They want to blame it on that. They want to blame it on over, you know, overloading us with days that they play football from Monday, Thursday, Sundays, even Saturdays sometimes. So it's just like the main reason for the people who love the game, especially and I love defense. I value defense so much because it alters everything. Defense more often than not wins the championship game. Hell, it just won the last game. It just won the last Super Bowl. Nigel Bradham doesn't get that damn sack, and they don't recover the ball. They probably get edged out if Tom Brady decides to be great at the end of the game. So, taking away technique is a reason why guys with limited skill sets already are even more limited. I can look at it and I can see some shit like this would really affect a player like Kevin Johnson on our team. You know, guys like AJ Boye, because they already get, you know, infractions and shit like that, you know, on a game-to-game basis for trying to be aggressive and trying to make the proper plays when they're just doing the things that they learned innately. You can't come up from Pop Warner to fucking middle school, elementary, you know what I'm saying, high school, college, and you get to the NFL just to know that all of the shit that you have to do is got to be thrown out and you have to adjust to it to a matter of months. You know what I'm saying? And it's not fair. I mean, at the end of the day, shit, why shouldn't defense matter? Because defense mattered when J.J. Watt was the defensive player of the year. You know what I'm saying? So it's things like that. People like that they don't like defense until they actually see defense, you know, put up plays taken away from the best quarterbacks in the league. You're saying, and this and that. And that's the sucky part about this shit, because offense is cool. I understand they put asses in the seats, but it's not always the determining factor why people win games. You know, because sometimes games we could be won on defense just to prove to you, hey, everybody's pitching in. So they turning this shit into flag football, and I don't fucking like it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, can I was about to say, can I give a quick shout out, man? Because I see this fan out here. I mean, he changed his screen name to Mike Vrabel. I mean, it takes a lot of balls to change your name to Mike Vrabel, the guy who coached the worst defense in the league last year, who equally is the worst defensive coordinator of last year for the NFL, is now your head coach. I mean, congratulations, man. It takes balls. You wanted the worst of the worst, and you got him. And now he's supposed to lead you to the worst fucking season record that y'all have had in the last 5 years. So congratulations.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, I don't recall who it was. I saw it briefly, man. We're talking about player safety and things like that. But I saw a hat, and if my head wasn't so fucking big, I might go try to get me one. There's a player, I'm not sure it was. If y'all can drop in the chat, whoever drops it first in the chat, I will make sure this rewards you with 100K sauce, that had a hat on that said, "Make the NFL violent again." It was a kind of parody of the Donald Trump hats, but I found that to be dope, man. Like I say, because these guys, they play the game for the contact. They know what they are getting into when they sign these contracts. These guys, the only people who don't want to really be touched or the little pretty boy quarterbacks and things like that. But, you know, you got guys, mobile quarterbacks, they know what comes with being mobile. You're going to catch some contact. All these other guys know this is a violent sport. If there was an issue with the violence, they would have stopped playing a long time ago, in my opinion. But, you know, trying to make all these extra rules, hey, I look at it like this. You put it in the contracts, you put it in the clause, hey, you know, this is what a possibility is. This is something that could happen, because there's a lot of dangerous drives across America. And, I mean, there's just some things that you got to do. You're getting a paycheck. You know what you're getting into. And, hey, if you don't want to play, retire. Cut your career short. You have the ability to do that. My opinion is, man, like I say, when I played, I mean, I understood shit. I've had concussions. I've had things like that. But that wasn't what deterred me away from wanting to play. Trying to make it easier, again, like I say, on these offensive guys who already have it easy enough, in my opinion, it's going to eventually, you know, it's going to eventually cause a problem. Because, I mean, it's just going to be what I feel like is going to happen is – you're going to have a situation late in the game, one of those late game drives or whatever, and it's going to be a perfectly clean hit, and a referee is going to jump to conclusions, throw that flag, and again, there's nobody to review it, and now I don't know what is it, a 15-yard penalty, 10, 15-yard penalty, whatever it may be, that puts a team in game-winning position, be it a field goal, be it a touchdown, whatever it may be, and there's going to be controversy. If you thought there was controversy with was that Pat Steelers game last year, I believe, crossing was it the Pats and the Steelers? Who was that? It was the Steelers and somebody. With old buddy trying to get across the goal line. I mean, little shit like that. What you're doing is you're opening up the door for more controversy. And the NFL is just going to end up sitting on their hands and just kind of thinking they're going to let it breeze over. But I think you're going to lose a lot of fans. You know, again, people are still going to watch football. NFL is king by far. It is what it is. The people who benefit from it are going to love it. But the people who fall victim to it are going to hate it. And I just feel like it's going to fuck up the game, man. And in the long term, again, it's getting softer and softer because what happened is, and I saw Heidi make the point, the NFL used to profit off the biggest hits. You see, they don't do that shit anymore now with the concussion tapes and things like that. They used to try to put out, the greatest hit. Motherfuckers were getting depleted, getting wiped out, getting laid out. And you could buy it on VHS, all that good shit, the same way they sell all that extra shit after the Super Bowl. But now, ever since the information which they've known all these years about the CTE, about the concussions, about all these things has come out, and now that all these old players have been suing the NFL, now retroactively they've been trying to cover their ass with all this bullshit that they're doing. I feel like now, hey, you make the players well aware of what can happen. If they choose to not play, then you pursue another opportunity. Otherwise, I'll guarantee you 99% of those guys are going to continue to play football. A couple of them might get their first couple of little checks and call it a wrap. They may have shorter careers, but I feel like everybody knows what's up with it. If it was an issue prior to, again, the people who couldn't take the heat, they would have been got their ass out the kitchen. But you haven't seen anybody quit previously because of what was going on, or anybody worthwhile or worth their salt. But now, again, you're trying to put pillows on motherfuckers. You're trying to make it, again, much more difficult on defense because, again, the offense already has leverage by knowing the play, knowing what they're trying to do. A defense is pure reaction. And, again, that split second of thought, do I got to adjust my head or I got to do this or whatever it may be to make this play, get your ass beat. And, what I'm saying, like I say, that could be a touchdown, that could be a first down, that could be something crucial, especially in the late stages of the game, that can definitely change the outcome. And I feel like it's going to be a lot of outrage throughout this season because of some of these new rules. And I feel like they're just going towards a softer game. I mean, might as well go ahead and start making it flag football now. But I want to get back – yeah, the fucking movie. But I want to get on to something, man. And then I wanted to jump back to the Texans and some things that were discussed. I caught a couple of interviews that I had missed early on in the week and just listened to some of the guys. Zach Cunningham was one that stood out to me. And I just wanted to talk about Mike Vrabel, since Mike Vrabel is in the chat anyway. And the difference between him and Romeo Crennel. Now, what these guys are saying is, it's not a lot that's changed, but it's the way the information is delivered. And so my thing with Vrabel not being the brightest Crayola in the box, the sharpest knife in the drawer, do you feel like his communication could have been a barrier between him, especially some of the younger guys? We still saw young guys do good. We saw Dylan Cole ball. We saw Cunningham ball. We saw some of the younger guys still get their action, but what do you feel like with Crennel being more of a not saying a softer guy, but just he's a better communicator and definitely having a much deeper understanding of the game, much more knowledgeable in his position at defensive coordinator. What do you feel like he will be able to do with the ability to get the information across to these players in a much more digestible fashion? We'll start with Wink and we'll work our way back on that situation.
Here, every time Romeo Crennel's name is brought up,
Do you hear the excitement in these players' mind when they fucking talk about him? They sound so excited. J.J. Watt recently, man, the last 3 interviews I've seen with J.J. Watt, he's done at least 3 over the last week, plus one today, because they were at Texas camp. They are so fucking excited because they knew that he was a joke as a fucking defensive coordinator. They know this man is a fucking peon, a twerp, a dweeb, impotent. He's all of these words that I just said, and his scheme proved what we had to say. Now, I'm sure that he's got a defensive coordinator, and I'm sure he has an offensive coordinator who is going to be running things for this Tennessee Titans team going into the year. So Titans fans are going to make the case, well, hey, he's got to. It's not he's running those portions of the team. The fact is, his philosophy has to align with theirs. That's going to be the major problem. The fact that he's going to have his imprint and final say-so on what goes on with the football team is what we know as Texans fans is going to catapult their team to go all the way down. These dudes are not going to be what everybody thinks they're going to be, and they'll end up probably being in the Oakland Raiders were this past year, who I said was the most overrated team coming into the 2017 season, and I was proven right. So with guys like Mike Vrabel, you can clearly hear dudes like Whitney Merciless, dudes who got time in this shit. The level of respect and the level of just the admiration that they got for this man, because even though he's soft-spoken, he's scared the fuck out of you. Like, yeah, I know he's a little short fuck, but at the end of the day, man, this man knows how to motivate teams. And let's just be frank, it was a Mike Vrabel-led defense in those 3 championships that New England won early on, and Mike Vrabel was a defensive player on every last one of them. So for him to not learn defense to its full capabilities after he's played defense at a higher level only proves his ineptitude.
Hector, how do you feel about the players' reaction more so to the return of Romeo Crennel and his ability to, develop some understanding for the younger guys on that side of the ball? Do you feel like you should see a significant leap from the production from these guys, or how do you feel? What do you feel that Crennel is bringing to the table for the younger guys?
Crennel's just a better coach. Well, not only a better coach, but a better defensive coordinator.
Right.
You hired. Well, how many years was Vrabel a linebacking coach for the Texans? I'm not gonna include the whole time with Ohio State because that's college football. But I mean, he had like 1 or 2 years as a linebacking coach, and then went to defensive coordinator. I'll say one thing: Vrabel was one hell of a good linebacking coach. You could definitely kind of see some of the development coming from Clowney and McKinney from Vrabel. But as far as the defense, he just didn't know anything other position group. He didn't know how to coach corners, and that was one of the groups that fell off completely when Vrabel came as DC. Defensive coordinators were just not that good. I mean, the defensive backs weren't just that good, and I mean, so you can see the issue with Vrabel. He just wasn't ready to be a defensive coordinator. Now he's going to be a head coach, and if he wasn't ready as a defensive coordinator, God knows that he's definitely not ready for a head coaching job. So he's going in there. He's literally like, guy can't tell from his ass towards his dick. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Right. And and Romeo Crennel, he's been here. He's had a long career. He knows what works. He knows what doesn't work, and he knows how to work with young guys. And he knows a lot about the secondary. So that's why I think that, that's why everybody's happy, because they got a defensive coordinator, not a linebacking coach that didn't know anything else.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that 100%. Tenny, let me get your take on what Romeo Crennel brings to the younger guys on this defensive side of the ball. And, like you mentioned, Hector, and we can mention, the excitement, the enjoyment some of the older guys have shown now that he's returned.
All right, so, man, I have loved seeing the excitement, man. You've seen it from everyone that talks about Crennel being back. You see the smiles. And the most telling thing was J.J. Watt went on to say, I'm happy to have Crennel back. I've been blessed to be coached by Wade, and now I'm being coached once again by Romeo Crennel with no mention to Mike Vrabel. And as far as Mike Vrabel goes, I mean, come on, dude. Like, this dude, he could not adjust to anything. When people would key in on fucking Tre'Davian, he never fucking tried to adjust the scheme to take care of the offense that we were going up against. And we had some talent that could actually adjust to some of these lower-end teams that we faced off against at the end of the season. And this is part of the reason why we ended up being fucking bottom of the league. Not just because of our injuries up front, I mean, but also the inability to actually adjust to the game, to actually sit there and say, hey, we're losing at this. Let's change it up and try to come back out here after the half and play a better style of football. And Vrabel never gave us any of that shit. You seen it with Crennel. We seen it where we had games where we were having trouble and we were struggling, and Crennel would come back after the half and make the adjustments that we needed, and we'd succeed off of it. And you got like this guy right here. I'm more than certain I know who this fan is. I've seen him around the fucking chat before. He changes his name a lot. I mean, the fact of the matter is he's excited to have a bottom of the barrel guy who is the bottom of the fucking barrel of the league for a defensive coordinator, now his head coach. And now he's so excited that he got him from the Texans. I mean, you got to give up this love-hate relationship, dude. Either you hate us or you like us. I mean, the fact of the matter is that you just got our fucking leftovers. You got our trash, and you're trying to call it a head coach and saying that he's going to wreck the AFC. He's not going to wreck the AFC. At most, he's going to give every opponent that the Titans have to face this year an easy cakewalk.
But it's a very interesting thing, man, with these Titans. And like I say, not just the Vrabel of the chat, but several other Titan fans that I've spoken with, and this one who usually comes in the comments after the streams. You know, I find it extremely funny that the Titans fans are willing to forgive Vrabel, you know, saying, oh, it's because he had to deal with all the injuries. But yet they don't use that as an excuse for that second victory that they got over us barely in the season, especially because they don't want to talk about the first one and what really happened. We were healthy. So I find that level of hypocrisy humorous at best. You know what I mean? So I don't know why you guys, you know, have that double standard, because double standards are the worst standards. But, you know, if you guys are comfortable with that, I mean, hey, that is what it is. That's just a sign of the Titans culture. Today was an interesting day. Yesterday, you know, practice was cut short because of the rain. Today, though, they practiced in the rain, and, you know, I guess it's a good feel to kind of see how guys perform in the elements. You know, there will be conditions like that. Sometimes you'll play outdoors. There will be harsh weather games that you'll have to deal with some of these things. But at the end of practice, and to me this was a good sign, and then we'll talk about, you know, some of the other things that benefit that. Everybody was fucking slipping and sliding and fucking having a good old damn time like a bunch of kids after practice. And to me, that's a good sign, because it seems like guys are having fun. You know, nobody's tripping, you know, and I guess apparently nobody's worried about injuries and everything. These motherfuckers sliding and posing, looking like that old fucking, what was that shit, the little gator shit, slip inside that motherfucker, the little commercial used to come on when you're a kid, you slide through the little fucking gator mouth and shit. These motherfuckers sliding all over the field and shit, having a good old time. So like I say, sometimes I look for the subtleties, and it could be right, I could be wrong. But do you feel like these guys are enjoying their experience overall now? And does that lead to, again, better team chemistry? Does that lead to better performance on the field, in your opinion? Or these motherfuckers just having a fun day in the rain after practice, after putting in some hard work? How do you feel about that, Tenny? And then we'll work our way back right.
Playing, you know, we've been playing, you know, the top of the league year in, year out, because we've been the best in the AFC South. Just to give them this chance to go out there and have some fun in the rain is good. It's good to see them smiling instead of looking at practice as another fucking job. I got you.
It's okay. Heidi won't get mad.
I'm just saying, it's like, you know, it's good to see him smiling, man. It's nice not to see O'Brien being dad and coach and laying these deadlines out for these guys. He's letting them out there. He's loosening up. I mean, nobody's got to like wear a frown when they show up to practice. They got a long week from Tuesday to Saturday this week, and every day's practice for them. And for them to get a little bit of a break, go out there, play in the rain, cool off, get out the element of being in the heat. It's great to see that. I mean, and plus, like I said, the only 2 easy games we got this year is the Titans, and everything else we got to really earn.
So how do you feel? How does it make you feel seeing those guys out there having a good old time after practice? You like to say, is that team chemistry? Is that a big factor you feel like to a successful season, or do you just feel like the guys just hey, we worked hard today and now we're just gonna let loose for a little bit? How does that come across to you?
I mean, there's always a time and place for everything, and I think that was the time to let loose and have fun. I mean, at the end of it all, you're playing a game that you loved as a kid. So I think, let them be relaxed. It's good to see a relaxed camp. Honestly, I think if you look at a lot of the teams that have won, championships, not going there, not saying necessarily that we're going to win a championship, but you see a lot of those teams. They're very relaxed. They're very chill. They like to have fun. Those are the teams that normally end up doing well in the season. And I mean, honestly, when I saw that, I thought of that scene from like the Longest Yard when they're when they like watered down the whole field, and you saw which I'm probably gonna get like a Bob McNair moment right here, but all the convicts ran out into the field and started jumped into the water and started like just having fun. Next thing you know, they're gonna have some like schoolyard bullshit play going on.
Fucking little CCR playing in the background.
Yeah. So Wink, you still with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. So how do you feel about seeing those guys, like I say, having a good old time after practice and just kind of letting loose? Do you feel like that's a good sign for team chemistry? Does that translate to better victories to you?
Fuck yeah. You gotta have some. You gotta be loose, man. You can't be a tight ass all of the goddamn time. Like, this the fucking part I hate about this whole Belichick tree. These motherfuckers think that they can be Belichick, and they think that they can do all of this shit that he does when you're not even that way. Don't think because you've been shown something that you were part of an organization that won games, that won championships, that's well respected around the league, that means you have to do the same thing. And that's what kills me about his coaching tree, is that they all think that way. They all think that that's the only way to win when it's Bill Belichick's the way, not your way. Everything he taught you was learned. And you even have players rebelling and coming out talking about how shit is being ran in that organization, and it's not fun for them. Yeah, okay, they win, so what? Who cares? It don't mean shit if you can't have fun. And that's why dudes retire early, because they can't have no fun no more. It's no meaning in this shit anymore. So I'm glad for him and the team to be able to lose the fucking spot, because I'm tired of seeing his smug ass face, you know what I'm saying, and all this little smart ass comment. And he has the nerve, to have a fucking attitude when he puts us in situations over and over again. You know what I'm saying? I was on Twitter Live earlier, and during his press conference, I was making some statements, that about him. As long as he doesn't hold the team back, I won't have any problems. And you have people that come right after me who were like holding the team back, like they're oblivious to the shit that he does, or they act like he's a phenomenal coach because he's been able to win with mediocre quarterback that he put on the field from the get-go. You know what I'm saying? So for people and fans to act like they don't see shit that goes on, it kills me. But as far as the team goes, I'm glad he's letting them do. I'm glad it feels like he's taking the reins off, and he's going to allow Deshaun Watson to lead this team and finally get over the hump. And it's been long enough, and I can't wait to see it.
Now, something I've been seeing going through the chat, I saw it come through on Bleacher Report, not Texas related, well, semi-Texas related, because there were people at one point in time who thought that the Texans should pick this guy, number one. Johnny Manziel in the CFL, failing, throwing four picks. The thing also is this year we heard all that tomfoolery about, is Manziel making a comeback to the NFL? the dude, he peaked in college. Some players, that's just where it is. Some people, that's where they get it, and that's just kind of where it all stops for them. You know, I wish everybody, I want to see everybody succeed, but the guy is what he is. He sat there and said that he didn't know how to read playbooks and blamed Cleveland. Well, they should have knew that before they picked me. You should learn how to fucking read the fucking play. Like, come on, my dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he said that shit after the earlier this year. You know, he said that when everybody was giving that hype. My thing is, the hype around Manziel, is it warranted, or is it just more media created bullshit similar to a lot of the shit they gave Tim Tebow? How do you feel about that, Wink? And then we'll work our way back to Tenny.
Real. If it wasn't for his fucking people having this oil money, this bitch would have been he's already out of the league. But let's just be real. Nepotism and fucking wealth has ruined a lot of shit where people don't have to earn shit in this fucking country. You don't have to earn anything. He didn't earn it with his play. He didn't earn it with his want to. He didn't earn it with any extra time spent in the locker room when he's the fucking leader of the whole organization that the fan base was looking forward to take over and put Cleveland back on the map. He was going to end up being responsible for that and would have been held to a much higher standard in the state of Ohio. And he even fucked up relationships with LeBron James. Like the fucking not his manager, his agent that he even had at the time left him. And he was well respected around the league. You know, so it's funny to me that dudes like fucking Johnny Manziel could get a chance, you know, before Colin Kaepernick and other guys who have far more talent. You know, the fact that he's getting a chance before Vince Young, when Vince Young actually played at a high level in this league when he was here, his record indicates so when he was making the playoffs with Jeff Fisher is a fucking problem to me. It's no reason that this undersized asshole who doesn't know what the fuck to do on the NFL level gets to get a chance because his people got money. And it's fucked up.
Your thoughts on Johnny? We ain't gonna call him Johnny Football. You gotta be good to have a nickname. What are your thoughts on Johnny Manziel and just his decline since leaving A&M?
Evans, and I think the receiver before he had Evans was Reynolds, like two towers for wide receivers. Right. So I mean, it was stupid. Like I never thought Manziel was that good, and then for people to project him for like the number one pick was it baffled me, especially when you look at that draft class. Now I'm not saying they're number one picks, but you had a national, like, what was it, like a two-time national champion in AJ McCarron,
right?
Blake Bortles, who was a hype train, Teddy Bridgewater, who maybe in a better circumstance probably be a lot better than where he is now, and then you had Johnny Manziel, and I mean, you kind of looked at it and you're like, really? I mean, the quarterback class was not that good for starters, but to put Manziel in the category of this guy's a first rounder, I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
The only two people that even came out of that particular draft pick that was now will probably end up being Garoppolo and Derek Carr. And Teddy B has had some success, you know, but he's been hurt.
Yeah, like I said, though, if it was a different circumstances.
Right.
But yeah, Johnny Manziel was just he was a flat out idiot, never grew up. That's the only issue with him. A&M fans are just as bad as Cowboys fans.
Absolutely. A&M
Except
fans,
at least the Cowboys won something.
Exactly. A&M has a couple of hypothetical national championships somewhere. They have, what's that one they had that they didn't even play for? I think they put like in '67 or something like that they put on there that they were in a national championship. They have like a fake national championship somewhere that they definitely take credit for. They got the UCF thing going on with the win it all but didn't play for it. But my thing is with Johnny, man, like I say, it's just, again, when he's put in a situation where you've never had to struggle for anything, everything's been put into your favor, everything has just kind of benefited you. How you mentioned he had receivers, he had talent on the run. Because who was there? He had Jokel, and he had a couple of solid ass tackles. He had some fucking solid ass linemen. He had great receivers. I mean, there were 3 or 4 other first round guys on the teams that he played on, and I think that definitely contributed to his success. So I definitely have to agree with you on that one. Tenny, what do you think? How are you feeling?
Man, I think Johnny Manziel was trash from the beginning, man. I mean, he had a good college career, but you knew going into that draft that he was going to be poison for your team. And, of course, out of everybody, it would be the Browns that chose his ass. Yeah. And he's been nothing but poison. He's a toxic-ass person. He fucking shoves people away in his personal life. And how the hell you gonna bring him in to be a leader of fucking men when all he does is act like a fucking fuckboy child? Yeah. I mean, seriously, dude, that's all Johnny Manziel is a fuckboy. He's going to end up on some kind of fucking reality TV show by the time he's 40, and he's still going to be trying to act like he's fucking the shit, reliving them glory college days about how he was leading shit in fucking A&M, and God knows A&M is fucking trash. I mean, at least Texas has fucking had like a graceful fall from descent. I mean, A&M motherfuckers are just trash all the way around.
They got a rich history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, fuck Johnny Manziel. Fuck his CFL shit. I'm glad to see him doing bad. I know it's not right, and I know God don't want that. But I don't got 2 fucks to give for that boy.
I'll say one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Hector. No, go ahead, Hector.
All right, Johnny Manziel is the Brian Bosworth of the 2000s.
Brian Bosworth had talent, man.
With the haircut.
Bosworth had talent, man. I like his movies.
We're talking about football, man.
I like his movies.
My God, Brian
when he had that fucking iguana and shit, and he was fucking like a biker cop.
Right. Oh my God, Brian Bosworth.
Put that on Instagram. Put that on Instagram.
Johnny Manziel, man. Johnny Manziel. I'm so glad in retrospect. Like, honestly, at the time, I ended up outweighing the pros and cons of what it would have been like to have had him or Clowney, because they were the only 2 people I could consider at the time. Not that to be honest, at the time, due to what he was doing, I just felt like either way for us, it probably would have been all right. But I'm so glad that we stayed patient. But it hasn't been like Jadeveon Clowney's time has been. We're not gonna act like he had the most support behind him from our fan base. We can't act like and dudes were saying all of this shit. Okay, you blaming him for some shit that the Texans never took care of, because dudes been getting hurt on our field for years. You know what I'm saying? But nobody acknowledges that. Then we get to a point to where the man comes back from an injury at least 3 to 4 months prior to when he should have came back to come play, because they talking about he wasn't even supposed to play until October of the 2015 season. And the fact that this man was able to come back, was on Hard Knocks, showing his worth, played 13 games this season, coming off a microfracture surgery, which is a hard injury to come back of. And people were like, he missed 3 games. Bitch, who expected him to play 16? And the fact that he was able to get 2 sacks against Tom Brady, his sacks was like, he had 4.5 sacks that season. I mean, what did you expect? And even coming through all of that, he still was in the top category in terms of run stuff ability. He was number 2 in the league I want to say it was Khalil Mack that particular season. But, it's just crazy to me that, you have to be stellar in order for any of these fans to support you. because it's a shame we can say what we want to say about Jadeveon Clowney now. It's so cool for people to act like fans now, but where were you at when controversy struck? You know what I'm saying? And that shit like that bothers me.
Okay. Well, anybody else have any other thoughts that they want to comment on this evening before we wind down and wrap it up here?
Someone on the chat was saying like, who would we rather have than Jadeveon Clowney?
Oh, that's pretty easy. I think I would probably go with either Mac or Carr in hindsight, and what they could possibly do with this team. I mean, you got to think about it. Mac with Rack. I mean, Rack would bring it out of him a lot better than what he's had in coaching over there. And of course, Carr is like almost a skill set, almost as like Watson. I mean, we could have been seeing like some really good like quarterback play these last few years.
I say Aaron. Well, I mean, I wouldn't leave it just at Aaron Donald. On the offensive side, I'm not going to front. I definitely would have took Odell. I mean, I don't care about none of the answers. I don't care about none of that shit. I don't care about none of that. I don't care about none. I'm talking about his play and his play only. The man has done some amazing shit in this league. I understand he ain't everybody's cup of tea in terms of that type of position. If I wouldn't have got Odell on the offensive side, I definitely would have got Zach Martin. Zach Martin, because I remember shitting on that Zach Martin pick, and he turned out to be an all-pro within his first season, which is absolutely ridiculous.
I'm not going to lie, Wink. I think D-Hop would have beat the fuck out of Odell by now. So that gate shit.
All that old suspect ass shit.
Yeah, I think they would have tuned that. But honestly, I don't think he would have done those answers. You know why? Because he wasn't in a town like New York where he could get that type of publicity. That's where I really don't. And plus, they're a little bit more lenient when it comes to Odell, because let's just be frank. Until that point in time, what star did they really have to rely on? Odell Beckham has put the New York Giants back on the map to a point to where dudes is buying merch, dudes is doing this, dudes is doing that, and saying he got the best kicker. They put him in the top 5, the top 3. Hell, even some people are saying the top 2. Hell, he's the best receiver in the league. This is debatable. We know these things aren't true, but the fact that he's even in this conversation is crazy.
And you know, Kenneth, not in his first season, probably his second season. He's asking if Quentin Nelson would be an All-Pro this year.
Oh my! I don't know.
Not his first season.
Edman's asking a question.
You got that.
Do you think Kyle Tucker can be on a playoff roster, or does he still need more time in the minor leagues to develop? Oh yeah, he still needs some time, man. I mean, he didn't look that bad when he was playing with the Astros, but I think you just need to give him some more time to develop. I think he'll make the playoff spot if anything. It wouldn't shock me, especially for his depth and his bat. I think he's pretty good.
A couple little questions on the sauce line. We'll just kind of make them some quick fire questions. Question for the roundtable: will the Texans go 4-0 in preseason?
No,
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, look at who your backup quarterbacks are.
And honestly, that the preseason records don't mean anything anyway. We went 4-0. What? The year Brock Osweiler was here, or one of the years before that. Well, yeah, I want to say when Brock Osweiler was here, we saw how that season ended. That means nothing.
And this says, question for Wink: will Clowney be ready by week 1, or his injury more serious than anticipated?
No, it's not. At the end of the day, somebody said it perfect. I was listening to some other podcast, and honestly, I can kind of agree. It's not so much. It's like a soft holdout as to where, the talks are already in. He's reported to camp. He's doing all the things he needs to do. So I'm not worried about Jadeveon Clowney at all. I mean, he'll be fine. I trust him to do what he has to do to take care of his body. I mean, I don't take him as a liar, and I don't take him in. I know he's worked on enough technique, and he's done enough things in the offseason to make sure that he's right and he'll be proficient when the season starts.
Yeah, like I say, he was out there with the team, definitely doing drills, working in the rain, doing all of that stuff today. So I know they said they're just kind of working him back in. So I feel like he's good to go, but they just don't want to rush it. So I definitely feel like he'll be there week 1 and ready to do the damn thing. So I'm looking forward to that. But
and Kenneth alone, Aaron Donald deserves it. He's had 10+ sacks in each season. He was the rookie of the year. He's won defensive player of the year just last year. Aaron Donald deserves everything that's coming to him.
Ever since question for Teddy, why are people saying Lamar Jackson would be better than Watson? Okay, answer that. People are stupid.
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest on that, say what you just said. People are fucking stupid as fuck. I saw Lamar Jackson fucking scramble on what was it, like his first 5, and the way that those Bears players were reacting to it and putting hats on him.
Right.
I may have overestimated his talent. I wanted to see what he could do in this league, but I may be overestimating what Lamar Jackson was bringing to the NFL.
I'll take that with a grain of salt. For one, they already knew what they wanted to do with him. I honestly think they put him out there to see what type of capabilities he could do in the run game. And if he needed to scramble, if he needed to roll out to the pocket, they wanted to see what his acceleration and shit like that, which was very well. You know, his ability to be able to make some plays if he gets outside the pocket. And like you said, I mean, defense was already prepared for that, so you can't even really. You take that with a grain of salt. Shit didn't even look that great in the first couple of games in the preseason for Deshaun Watson, and at the end of the day, when the season counted, he actually did what he was supposed to. So, it's preseason.
I don't know. It was a little different comparing Deshaun's first game to his first game because, like, Deshaun was a little bit more cleaner and only moved when he had to, whereas Lamar was like you could see like his clock expired quickly in his head, and he started looking for a way out because you could always tell like he was ready to throw, and then he pull it into his chest and get ready to run left or right.
Right.
All right, man. So look, we're gonna call it a wrap here. We're gonna wrap it up and. There will be a Den at 10. Man Up will be my special guest. So, like I said, if y'all want to have some good conversation, we'll be talking about that. I want to shout out to the roundtable. You guys have anything you want to say before we get up out of here?
Shout out to the chat, man. Thanks for coming through once again. I mean, y'all always do it every night, and we're only going to get stronger and start moving faster.
Yeah. I appreciate everybody that came through. Y'all support is much appreciated. You know, make sure y'all share these little videos and stuff on y'all social media, you know, so we can go ahead and get out there, you know, make the right type of buzz. And I appreciate everybody, you know, early on in the comments and section, they were talking about, you know, my vocabulary and, you know, me being on ESPN and all that shit. And honestly, I would never afford, and I couldn't really entertain a situation going on ESPN, even if it was offered to me, because I refuse to be held back, and I'll be damned if I'm apologizing for my own opinion on that bullshit ass network. So if it was extended ever, thanks but no thanks. I like the platform I'm on right now.
Astros are playing tonight, actually at 9 o'clock. So they're playing the Dodgers. So that should be good. Tomorrow Dynamo are playing. Just saying.
Show some love.
Show some love to the Dynamo. But thanks for everybody for, you know, watching the stream. Like I said, man, time is valuable, and for you guys to put some time and listen to us talk and hear our opinions, man, that just makes us feel great.
I just want to answer a quick question for Ashford Kennedy. He asked me, does he deserve? He definitely deserves between 18 and 20 million. And see, 25. Okay, bro, no defensive player, period. Not even Von Miller's going to get 25 million a season. I mean, that's out of the question. You know what I'm saying?
We're about a decade behind that shit.
Yeah. I would say probably in the next 5 to 7 years, depending on the talent, maybe that's possible. But right now, that's not even like
that's mad money.
That's not even some fantasy shit. Like they would turn that off or down in Madden. Like it's just not even realistic.
Okay.
Soccer players make that money.
Yeah, soccer players.
Yeah.
But shit,
We
might
know
well,
they got that
motherfuckers
wrong.
might as well start playing soccer the way they crying about all these rules and shit. They
Like
add to the
Griffin,
NFL.
baby mama make that money.
Oh, shit, man, she killing
Man, that
it.
shit crazy. She gonna make
Plenty.
$65 million over her lifetime. She'll never see that much money though. But the fact that she's lined up to make $55 million over an 18-year period for having Blake Griffin's child is absolutely fucking ridiculous. I hope this system burns and goes down in the toilet, because there is no reason that a man having a child with any woman, regardless of her background, you should be obligated to pay $258,000 a month for a child. That's over $4 million a year that you're paying in child support. What fucking child on this earth is that expensive?
Not a nail nutter.
It's not
Moral
one
to the
child.
story is, don't be silly. Wrap your willy.
Yes. Or you can always utilize the poop hole loophole. But with that being said, we gonna call it a wrap, man. I appreciate y'all, Sauce Nation, man. Y'all the freshest motherfucking ingredients, man. I appreciate the fact that y'all stay tuned in, that y'all show love, that y'all fuck with the flavor, man. Like I say, you never take this for granted, man. The fact that y'all take the time, because time is the one asset that you can never recoup, man. Like I say, the fact that y'all take the time fucking with the sauce, fucking with the round table, man, supporting on all various platforms, I sincerely appreciate that. So yeah, we're gonna have some den later, we're gonna have some mixer action later this evening. But with that being said, man, thank each and every one of y'all. I appreciate everybody who texted in on the sauce line. Yeah, the Kush Den line, the Kush line will be open for everybody who call in on that, so make sure y'all are part of that. But we chunking up the deuce. Y'all be cool like y'all be cool. Y'all stay saucy. And we out.